The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
But it's certainly, as far as we're concerned, a very good testament to the quality of the product that we've produced out of the demonstration plant on the HPMO side.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Giyani Metals Interim Executive Chair, Nigel Robinson. Nigel, very good to speak with you. Giyani's high-purity manganese oxides passed interim phase 2 testing conducted by C4V. Who are C4V?
Yeah, good morning, Stephen. C4V are an American-based lithium-ion battery technology company, quite a leading player in the market. And what they do is that at the moment, because it's quite a developing market, they're focusing on the development and the optimum performance, you would say, of lithium-ion batteries in the sector. And so they work with a lot of the equipment suppliers in the supply chain and also the raw material suppliers to actually verify their products and test them over long periods, so they'd be, accredited effectively to go into some of the batteries that they eventually will produce and other suppliers will produce in that marketplace. So it's kind of a real good quality standard, really, if you can pass their testing benchmarks.
What do these interim results suggest, Nigel?
Yeah, it's quite a long process, actually. It's 3 phases in total, and we announced last October that we'd passed phase 1. We're now into the second phase, well into the second phase, just coming to the end of it, actually, which is basically single layer pouch cells, so like a little coin cell, and they test it over numerous cycles for recharging and discharging, the capacity constraints, and lots of kind of technical aspects that maybe I don't fully understand, to be honest with you, but checking that it's got stability of the material to actually apply it into the battery sector. So that's phase 2, and as I say, that was a single layer pouch cell. What they'll be doing once we've passed that, and we've effectively passed that now, but there's a bit more testing just to complete, we will go into phase 3, which is multi-layer pouch cell testing. That will take approximately another 5 to 6 months. So it does seem like an inordinate amount of time, but it's certainly, as far as we're concerned, a very good testament to the quality of the product that we've produced out of the demonstration plant on the HPMO side.
Can you tell us why Giyani's undertaken this external qualification program, Nigel? Will it help secure offtake agreements?
Well, I don't think I can answer that in the black and white, if I'm honest with you, Stephen, because there's no one single test that says, yes, you'll get an offtake agreement now, because obviously they have their own testing. And what we're doing in parallel to this is obviously lots of assays, lots of samples from the demonstration plant have been sent out to the OEMs, to the pCAM producers and the off-takers, effectively for them to do their laboratory testing on those assays and samples. We've done our own, so we know what the results are, and it's very accurate. It's very should I say, the quality has to be of a very high standard, because we're talking here parts per million on those assays, not just percentages, but parts per million of maybe 14, 15 different elements. So that's not consistent across the Western world, I think it's fair to say. So we're doing that. That's one part of the testing with various off-takers to secure those off-take agreements. This is something slightly separate, which is, an actual battery itself and testing the material in that battery. So we feel it's a very good it's a good standard, as I say, a good quality of the product that we're produced from the demonstration plant. So that's why we're doing that in parallel. And I think it'll help in that process of, which is the key goal, obviously, is to secure those offtake agreements. But it's lots of negotiations, discussions, and various testing methods for us to get to that end goal, effectively, Stephen.
You also confirmed that the DFS is still on track for publication this quarter. How's it progressing, and what can shareholders expect?
Well, clearly, to answer that question fully is a bit premature, Stephen, if you don't mind me saying so, with the greatest respect. But yes, we're progressing well. We did announce a slight delay, I have to say, into Q2, but we're on track for that. It will be announced fairly shortly. The results, I think shareholders have been very patient with us. It has taken quite a long time to get these results to this point, but there's been a lot of inputs to it, which have complicated the process in some ways because of the work we've done on the demonstration plant. And we want to reflect the results from that demonstration plant, because we believe that we're one of the few players who've tested it at scale in that demonstration plant and spent quite a lot of money on that. So we're taking our time to make sure we get that right, and hopefully shareholders will be pleased with the output of the DFS and the verification of the process flow sheets that support that DFS.
And can you give us any more detail on the ongoing conversations with potential strategic partners, Nigel?
Well, again, I can't give specific details because they're confidential in many ways, but I think we believe as a company that if you look at the marketplace, there's lots of smaller cap companies trying to develop high purity manganese, and there will, I think, in the future be some form of consolidation, combination, because what the Western world is trying to achieve is a bit of a increase in the processing capacity. At the moment, 95% of that processing output comes from China, whereas the raw materials of the actual ore bases themselves, it's probably about 2/3 to 70% is in Australia and South Africa and Gabon. So clearly we have the raw materials, but not the processing capability. And I think that investment to provide the processing capability is where the Western world is going. And I believe to do that because it's quite high capitally intensive is this processing, these processing facilities. And what we need to see is that there is this sufficient investment for the long-term processing in the marketplace.
Nigel, I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
It's Nigel Robinson, Interim Executive Chair at Giyani Metals.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.